nerds. My name is Megan.
I'm Deborah.
And I'm Lance. Welcome to the Middle Ground. We are still in Mystery March with BookTube, and we are going to be introducing yet another short mystery. This time, Debbie, what is it?
So, I read The Woman in the Library by Solari Gentle. She's an Australian author. The tagline at the top says, "A treat for readers who love books about books." And that is no exaggeration. I sat and had to sit and think it out. This is a story. The author wrote a story about an author who's writing a story. So there's actually 3 layers of story happening in this book. A lot of it takes place in the library, but a lot of it is just these different authors and their interactions with one another, and wow, it's
a murder mystery for book nerds.
Yes, but it is also a thriller suspense type novel. It is definitely not a cozy mystery. Gets into the area of serial killer. So yeah, it was a little more than I had anticipated starting out, but I still did enjoy it. It has well-developed characters, and it has other things that I really enjoy, like cross-cultural things, because as I said, the author herself is Australian, but the book is set in Boston.
Boston?
Mm-hmm.
Get me out of this car.
Yeah. One Boston Public Library. And so there's stuff about... And then some of the characters are supposed to be from North Carolina and Tennessee, so there's talk about different accents, and there's talk about different understanding. It's like... I said that it's authors talking with authors, so sometimes there's like feedback like, well, they wouldn't really say that in Boston. That's a very Australian way to say it. Here in America, we would say it. Yeah. And so I found all of that very interesting, because those kind of things are interesting to me as a book nerd. Yeah. And help to flesh out the characters a bit more. Just that was what was great about it. And it showed different ways that people write novels. Like, one of the authors in the story presents it as like she just gets on a bus and the bus sweeps her along, and she has to keep up and not lose track of her muse before so like when she gets stuck, her writing friend will be like, "Oh, you fell off the bus again," and she'll be like, "Yeah, I need to go out and get a coffee and change my seat." And he, on the other hand, knows the whole story before he begins and plots it all out with this very complicated web, and she just looks at what he's done and is like, whoa. So I don't know which style Gentle herself uses, but she talks about those differing styles. And then there's another layer with, like I said, it's a story within a story within a story. So there's another layer that she's communicating with a person who's commenting on that story, and it's pretty cool.
Really cool.
It is really cool, yeah.
And that mirrors kind of what Kurt Vonnegut, there's a book about Kurt Vonnegut's writing that he talks about, where he talks about precisely that, about those 2 different styles. The name of the book is Pity the Reader. We'll maybe throw that one in the comments too. But it's interesting that she's an author, so she knows about writing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Is the author actually Australian?
Yes. So Solari is Australian, and then the person who's writing the person who's writing the second layer story. It sounds really confusing when I say it, but it's not confusing when you read it.
Okay, that's good. Because I do kind of want to read this.
Yeah.
But,
so yes, the main character of the main story of the book is Australian, and also the person who is writing that story is Australian, and she is communicating, and she set it in Boston, and so she's communicating with this other author who's in Boston, and he's the one giving feedback about the chapters that she's writing about. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. I wonder why the author chose Boston.
I'm not sure.
Like,
I don't know.
She has connection there. Maybe she went to school there, or she went. I don't know.
That's a good question.
It just seems like you would want to write about more what you're familiar with, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I would, but I'm not really a writer, so...
And for those of you that are writers, I'm going to take this short break while Debbie is investigating her volume. First of all, you've noticed in our recent posts that they're both reading mysteries. I get stuck reading nonfiction. So, if you can throw in the comments what, if you have, so my two options right now are I could write about, unsolved historical mysteries, or other true crime cases. I have more than two options. So, unsolved mysteries, whether in antiquity or recent, true crime cases. Kansas, again, there's Truman Capote. There's a lot of other things that have happened. So true crime, and there's a lot of interest in true crime right now. So I could read a true crime to talk about. Or the last one, and the one I'm leaning toward. We were in a bookstore that will remain nameless because it wasn't ours. And it was a book. The word just left me. It was on forensics. And it was essentially and it was the most grisly book I have ever seen. Like, with pictures.
It was about forensic investigation.
Oh, like CSI?
And what I said was, oh yeah, the main character of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder read those. That's how she... Anyway, I'm not going to say that because that'll give away the last book. But
so, if anybody puts anything
read that series.
If anybody puts anything in the comments, that's what I'll...
I have a recommendation.
What's that?
That Museum of the Missing, or the Gardner Heist one, where it's like an unsolved...
The one that we watched a mini-series
yeah,
about?
there's a book I have.
Yeah, that's
book
kind
on
of
it.
like a cozy mystery.
Okay, so the answer is that she was part of an Australian council-sponsored delegation of Australian mystery writers who toured the U.S. in 2019 to represent Australian crime fiction to a U.S. readership.
So she has experience.
So
in the US
she went on a tour, and she must have just really liked Boston.
Okay.
I would guess.
That's fair. It's a cool city.
Yeah.
All right, so we are... Anything that they desperately need to know about the woman in the library, like, why should they pick this up? Or why shouldn't they pick it up? Maybe...
You shouldn't pick it up if the idea of that suspenseful serial killer thing scares you, then don't pick it up. If that's the kind of suspense and
if you're a cozy mystery reader, might be too intense for you.
Yeah, but I generally do like cozy mysteries, but I still enjoyed the book. Maybe I'm leaning more towards the thriller suspense since I read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. It kind of reminded me of that. Like, there was danger, but I felt throughout, okay, I know she's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. But the danger goes to 2 levels of the start. Well, actually, like all 3, because the person, yeah. Anyway, just check it out. It's good.
All right. And so, until next time.
We'll meet you in the middle.